So I actually went back and forth on even making this review, simply because I think when it comes to Kanye West, it's one of those situations where the art doesn't surpass the person. A lot of the things that Kanye West has done over the last several years has been damaging to the Black community, to the hip hop community, to the Jewish community, to just music in general. He has been a pretty destructive force in that sense. And so when going into Bully, which he has been working on for a couple years now, I had very low expectations for it to redeem Kanye back to a level of respect and revelness that he is known for. I never thought that that would actually happen. So when it comes to the album Bully, I think Kanye almost kind of feels the same way. And at the end of the day, it feels like a way for him to continue to make money, continue his livelihood, which, you know, despite whatever controversy he's going through, you still got to make money and live. And yes, Kanye West is a billionaire. Maybe he is, maybe he's not, but he still has mouths to feed and bills to pay. And Bully acts as a cornerstone in that process to continue his legacy. But with that said, it really comes down to the question, is it good? And for me personally, as one of the, I graduated from the school of Kanye West. I literally have multiple projects called Arizona Kanye. I admire Kanye quite a bit as a musician. He's one of my favorite musicians of all time, despite the things that he said and done. And so I have a pretty good knowledge of Kanye West music. And one of the things I really appreciated about Kanye up to a certain point was his ability to push the sonic threshold and the creative threshold of his artistry. And with College Dropout and Late Registration and Graduation and even My Beautiful Dark and 808s and Heartbreaks and Yeezus, all these albums were able to change the sonic landscape of hip hop. It pushed the threshold. It brought new artists to the table. It brought new interesting sounds. He was doing interesting collaborations and really stimulating the growth of creativity through those projects that I mentioned. And even all the way up to Donda, that still existed. After Donda, we really started to see stagnation and even a little bit of regression. Like the two Vulture albums, while they had very high highs, had extremely low lows as well. And going into Bully, I feel like we're dealing with a lot of the same issues since Donda, but we are kind of heading in the right direction. And let me elaborate on that. When it comes to Kanye West, as I just said before, he's always managed to do something interesting, push the threshold, change the paradigm of music with most of the music that he puts out. But on this album, it almost feels like a rehash of everything that he's done up to this point. We're not hearing a lot of sonic progression in his music on this album. Is it better than Vultures 2? Yes, it is. Is it better than Vultures 1? Slightly. But Vultures 1 is not anywhere near the quality and creative insights that his previous albums had. So the bar is pretty low there. But when I listen to the Bully album, I really feel like I'm hearing lesser versions of previous Kanye's throughout this album. And whether AI was used or not, I mean, I talk about the AI all the time on the Heat Check. I use AI in a variety of different ways when it comes to like organizing music, I'm using AI right now to organize all the samples on my computer right now as I make this video. So like, I'm not anti-AI in that sense. But when you're operating on the level that Kanye West is known to operate on, the bar is really, really high. And especially with all the controversy surrounding him. And I'm trying to separate the two in this conversation because I'm not here to make this a Kanye takedown video about all the things that he's done or said over the last several years. This is mostly just about the music and the music itself and the musicality that Kanye is trying to offer on this project. And to be honest, it sounds stale. It feels like a lateral move, maybe a slight incline towards the direction that I think most of his fans want from him, which is for him to really tap into the story of Kanye West. And yeah, there's plenty of bars on here that have allusions to what Kanye has been going through, but most of it comes from a place of resentment and almost like a little bit of revenge. Like Kanye's kind of angry on this album, but what's crazy about that is that you don't even hear the anger in his voice. That might be due to the AI usage, whether it's being used or not, because the whole controversy around Bully was the idea that his vocals were going to be replaced with AI vocals, AI version of his vocals. And honestly, I can't refute that or not on this album because he sounds very flat throughout this album. This is from a Kanye West that would scream, "Bitch, I'm out my coma" at the top of his lungs, et cetera, so forth, or even like anything on Jesus, or even on Graduation, he had the subdued tone that was still urgent. None of that exists on this album. There are highlights, for sure. I think that the track, All the Love, featuring Andre Troutman, is a step in the right direction. A Kanye that is pushing his creative threshold past hip hop and more into the world music iconic status that he's been pushing towards his entire career. I think that's one of the best songs on the album, if not the best song on the album overall. I also think that there's a couple other highlights, like Mama's Favorite, where he has Donda, his mother, talking to him. It's a clip from the documentary that came out on Netflix, but it's a clip talking about Kanye's music and how she feels about it. And he has a track on there, the title track, Bully, with CeeLo Green. That's an interesting attempt at kind of pushing the threshold a little bit, but at the same time, it feels like we've been around this road before. And honestly, like, I'm not even trying to fault Kanye for this because I feel like music as a whole is experiencing this, especially in hip hop. And I don't want to say that hip hop is plateaued as a whole in terms of like artists like really pushing themselves, because if you look at the younger generation, we're definitely getting new, interesting sounds, but Kanye's not messing with all that. And I think a lot of it was appeasement. Like, he has a lot of soul samples on here because the old Kanye was known for his soul samples, which I appreciate. But at the same time, I'd rather hear Kanye work with like Diplo on a track and do like some EDM type beats. Or, I don't know, do some more music with Sia. Like you did Wolves with Sia on Life of Pablo. That's one of my all-time favorite songs, but not necessarily even because of it being Kanye West doing the song with Sia, but the musicality of it. And I'm not saying that the music on this album is bad, but I'm saying that based on Kanye's own standards of music, it comes off pretty mid. It's definitely better than his last two releases, Vultures 1 and Vultures 2, that I said previously, but is it good enough to redeem him for all of his actions over the last several years? No, and I don't even know if that's even possible, right? Because especially nowadays with social media and like the division that exists in this country and this world, it's like either you're a Kanye West fan or you're not. And if you were in that transition period where you were trying to decide if you were a Kanye West fan or not, you probably not at this point. Or you're judging him heavily, hoping that there will be some type of change. But even with his live stream that he did at the SoFi, he's still the same Kanye West. And he's still one of the greatest musicians of all time. But I feel like Bully doesn't represent that sound. It kind of almost acts as a reminder, not looking forward. And there's even a couple, like even the track Send It Up, or sorry, This Is a Must, sounds like A$AP Rocky Stole Your Flow. I think if you change the snare from This Is a Must, like on the beat, to the snare from the A$AP Rocky song Stole Your Flow, you will hear how similar those beats sound. Like A$AP Rocky pretty much did a better version of This Is a Must. And for me, I have this weird like quantum conundrum here because Kanye was the one who pioneered that sound. Like the heavy dark synths over like banging beats. Kanye pioneered that sound. But so many people have done his sound since then that when Kanye goes back to do it, it almost feels like a parody of himself. Like, This Is a Must feels like a parody of like a Kanye West song that you would make if you wanted to make a high energy Kanye West song. Then there's other songs on here, like even like Father with Travis Scott, that have like this kind of like throwback Yeezus sound on it, which I appreciate, but at the same time, it feels like a lateral move. And I think where Kanye West is at in his career, I want to see much more creative. Like, I'd rather have him throw a Hail Mary and do some super far out, weird African Child type music than what he did on this album. Because there's nothing on this album that grabs me and says, oh man, he's really doing this for the love. it feels like he's doing this for the business. He's doing this because he needs to continue his company. He's selling clothes and he's going on tour and he's an artist. But this feels like, okay, we got to get this album out because we got to get this album out. It didn't have the same urgency or passion behind it as like his first 3 albums did, like when he went on the run with College Dropout or Late Registration and Graduation. Like you could feel the urgency in Kanye West's music at that time. And even when he returned with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, the urgency of that music was felt. That's why it's considered to be one of the greatest music albums of all time, because of the urgency and what he had to say behind it. I don't necessarily know what Kanye West is trying to say on this album. And this is the problem that I think I've been dealing with Kanye over the last several albums, ever since Donda. Because since Donda, he hasn't really had much to say. He has a whole ass song on Vultures 1 where the chorus goes, big, beautiful, big titted bitches don't follow the sky, wherever. And that's like the chorus of the song. Now that beat, snapping, but Kanye's running out of things to say without having any sense of urgency behind it. And I think when it comes to like this album in particular, I think that this was probably his best chance to really capitalize on the attention that the people have. He's gonna go on this press tour. We'll probably get a Kanye West interview here soon. He's gonna do a bunch more shows, but it all feels the same. This is the same thing that he's been doing for the last several years. And that's a little disappointing to me. Now, getting back to the music itself, like I said, there are some pretty decent tracks on here. I think there's some decent effort. Like, you got Kanye speaking Spanish on Last Breath with Peso Puma. It's a straight up Spanish song. So it's not like he's not trying, but at the same time, he's not trying. And I think it's hard to explain, but this is coming from someone who has studied and really cherished Kanye's music ever since day one. Like, I've listened to pretty much everything Kanye West has ever done. Like I said before, I graduated from the school of Kanye West. Like I followed his rollout strategies. I followed his, like, the way he approaches music. So I have a really intimate idea of how he seemingly approaches music, at least up to this point. And what I mean by that is that, like, it comes down to what he needs to say to the world. What is he trying to actually say to the world? What is the message that he's getting across? On most of his albums, there is a clear message. On this album, it feels like the message is diluted, or maybe in the message is kind of like, hey, I'm still here, I'm still around, I still got it. But that's not what I want from Kanye. I think in order for him to maintain his legacy and continue, like if he continues to make music, because he doesn't have to make music ever again. That's the thing about it. And I think that you can kind of hear it on this album where it's like that urgency is just gone. He no longer has to make music for the sake of his survival or for the sake of his city, or he doesn't do any of that anymore. He just makes music now because he needs to sell his clothing. He needs to sell his business. This is a guy who's a billionaire who's doing billionaire things. It's kind of the same thing with Jay-Z a little bit. Like, yeah, he's doing the concerts for the 30th anniversary of Reasonable Doubt and then the 25th anniversary of Blueprint. But it feels very corporate. And it's a very interesting time in hip hop when it comes to these older rappers who are rich as fuck out here doing their thing. Like, it's interesting to see them navigate with hip hop as their platform, as their base, right? If you look at someone like Nas, for example, and what Nas did over the last several years, especially with the Legend Has It series, where he was bringing back like De La Soul and Ghostface and all these different rappers, and DJ Premier, he did an album with DJ Premier. Like, Nas is still ingrained deeply in the culture of hip hop. I can't say the same for Kanye. I can't say the same for Jay-Z. And going back to Kanye, you could hear it in the music that hip hop is still a part of him, but it's not the most important part of him. He has other things going on, whether it's clothing or his family or whatever. Music doesn't feel like it's as important to him on this album. And that's just the vibes I'm getting off from the tone of his voice. Even some of the beat selection feels a little bit stagnant. But like I said, like, comparing it to the other albums, it's, especially his last 3 albums, I think that this is his best project. When I compare it to Vultures 2 and Vultures 1, and I think it's a step in the right direction. It's not blowing my mind. There's nothing on this album that grabs me and says this is the track, similar to Vultures 1 where we had like Carnival, for example. And that's the interesting thing about it, because like on the Vultures, at least Vultures 1, there were higher highs and lower lows. This album is just kind of down the middle. And nothing on this album is like, yes. I'm not getting any of those yes moments on this album. But with that said, I think that it's gonna do what it needs to do in terms of numbers. It will probably be #1 next week. He'll probably make plenty of money on his tours. He'll probably drop a few more videos. And it's good to see Kanye actually be on a real regular rollout without like him attacking people or saying wild stuff. That's a little refreshing. And so there's a slight bit of optimism there, because I think, I don't even really know what Kanye West would need to do in order to like redeem himself completely. But a lot of it comes down to like the musicality, having that massive hit single that makes him completely undeniable. He hasn't done that in a while. Carnival was his closest shot over the last several years. And before that, you had maybe, I don't even know. But when I'm on my Instagram and I'm scrolling through and I'm seeing all these videos, I'm hearing the runaway keys in people's videos. That's the level of Kanye West that I'm expecting pretty much every time out, that he hasn't achieved since My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Even with Life of Pablo, there's amazing moments on that album, but there's also a bit of moments that aren't as amazing. And he set his own bar with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And honestly, I want more of that. Will he ever return to that? I don't know. I honestly do not know. But I would love to see more from Kanye. Like I said, I will always love Kanye's music and the fact that he creates it. In the sense that as long as Kanye is making music, I'm gonna listen to it, because he plays such an important role in my creativity and what I've done as an artist. He's always been an inspiration to me, despite the things that he said, despite the things that we've done. And that's not what we're here to talk about. Maybe make another video about that, his apology tour and all that. But I'm always rooting for Kanye musically. And so I'm hoping that he continues to find ways to push himself to a new creative threshold. I think that the fact that this album took so long and there was so much controversy around it may have muddied the waters a little bit. And hopefully the release of it and the fact that he actually got it out, which is crazy, because there was a Khaleesi bet on Khaleesi saying, will Kanye West drop this album or not? That had like millions of dollars into it. And so there's a lot of people who doubt Kanye. I was doubting Kanye that he was even gonna get this album out in a timely fashion. And so the fact that he did, the fact that he's on this tour run, the fact that he's actually out here dropping videos and he's posting content makes me optimistic that maybe we can return to some type of Kanye that is pushing himself to crazy limits and is working with Diplo or I keep saying Diplo because Diplo is probably one of the most diverse producers that I know out there, that probably would take Kanye West's sound to a whole new level if he were to work with him on that level. But there's a bunch of people of interesting sounds that could really take Kanye to a new level. But at the same time, it's a lofty task. We're talking about Kanye West, one of the most innovative producers of all time, asking him to continue to push the threshold in 2026. I understand what I'm asking here. Like, I understand that that's actually a very lofty task to do. But I think if anybody could do it, it would be Kanye West. So hopefully this is the beginning of a new era of Kanye that allows his creativity to really flourish. But Bully doesn't necessarily do that for me, but it does open the door to new possibilities with him. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you enjoyed this review. If you don't, that's fine too. But if you're at the, I don't know where we at, the 19-minute mark, 20-minute mark, then obviously you enjoyed it enough. So make sure you subscribe, follow, leave a comment, tell me what you think about the Kanye West album, Bully, and make sure you watch for more videos, because I'll keep doing this as long as people are watching. So have a good day. Take care. Peace.